First of all, appreciate you all being here on short notice and agreeing to allow us to have some conversations about this situation. Obviously, this has been a very disappointing and heartbreaking situation for everyone involved. This is a difficult time for everyone, but especially for our women's basketball program and the student athletes. Their well-being comes first and foremost in everything that we do. We're trying to provide for them all the necessary support and love and tools to get through this time. And we appreciate you respecting their privacy through the transition. This has been a trying time on Dr. Geis, myself, and everyone involved in the process. Please understand that there are just certain things I'm not going to be able to say. As it gets into personnel or privacy issues, there will be questions that you will want to ask. I just can't answer, but I'm sure you'll understand that. I want to start by saying that allegations of a possible inappropriate relationship were brought to our attention. We immediately began an investigation into these allegations. Prior to the conclusion of that investigation, Tyler chose to resign his position yesterday, and we accepted his resignation. What I want to do right now is give you a little bit of a timeline from yesterday. There was different things going on, and so I want to kind of give you a little capsulated timeline and then talk about next steps. Dr. Geis and I met with Tyler at 10 a.m. yesterday morning, and at the conclusion of that meeting, he offered his resignation, and we accepted. At 3:55 p.m., we issued a press release, which you all received, with statements from the university and statements on Tyler Summit's behalf, or his statements. At 4 p.m., I met with my senior staff, the athletics department senior staff, to make them aware of Tyler's resignation. As you can understand, anytime there's a coaching change, your staff is the ones involved with the logistics and paperwork and planning and the transition. And so I had to immediately notify my staff. So we had a staff meeting at 4 p.m., let them know of the situation, and begin to ask questions. It was a very, as you can imagine, it was a very quick turnaround. At 4:30 p.m., I reached out to Mickey DeMoss. Unfortunately, she's actually out of the country on vacation, and so I was able to reach her by phone, in which I notified her about Tyler's decision to resign as head coach, and then also offered her to be the interim head coach during this time. She's accepted that, so as of yesterday at 4:30, Mickey DeMoss is our current interim head coach for the Lady Texters. Really no further discussions happened at that time as it relates to Coach DeMoss and her possible interest in being the head coach or anything else like that. Wouldn't have been appropriate to have that over the phone. She gets back into town on Sunday, and my intention is to meet with her one-on-one, not only to talk about maybe her possible interest and get a collective idea on that, but also just the immediate plans of the program, just the daily things that have to go on. Someone's in charge of it, and I am happy that she's accepted that. At 5:30 p.m., I met with the women's basketball program, not just the team, everyone associated with the program, everyone that has a stake in the women's basketball program, from managers, trainers, coaches, students, obviously. As you can imagine, it was a very somber and a very emotional setting. And so we laid out some facts and laid out about the meeting that happened at 10, which I've already described to you, and told them that, Mickey had already been named interim, and although she wasn't there, she's the boss right now, and that if they had any questions, they could reach out to her or their current staff. And we talked about the daily things, that getting back into academics, getting back onto the court, getting in the weight room, doing the things we need to do, making sure that we're not losing focus on the things that are important right now during this time. And so, again, it was a very emotional meeting, but nonetheless, a meeting that needed to take place to provide some structure as we move forward. That was the day as of yesterday, and again, I appreciate you all being here on short notice, and I'm open to any questions.
Coach, how disappointed are you that 2 years later we're looking for a new head coach?
I think in any coaching situation, I mean, when you hire a coach, I mean, most coaches are hired with a 5-year contract, and Tyler was no different. And so that's an expectation, you know, of, hey, this is what it takes to build a program, turn a program, whatever the case is. And so it doesn't matter whether it's women's basketball or golf or baseball. Anytime you have to turn around a program, because it takes a lot of energy. And anytime that there's a change in leadership, it's disruptive. It doesn't matter if it's positive change. And I mean positive in that Mike White left last year to go to Florida. Well, it was negative in that we lost him, but it was a positive for him. It's still disruptive. And so very disappointed that we're looking for a coach after 2 years. Obviously, typically, you're thinking about coaches most of the time. If you have a coach that's maybe not performing well and you're kind of going down the stretch, you might in your mind already be thinking kind of that direction. Or in the case of Coach White last year, where the year before he had made runs at him, you're always thinking. In a situation like this, not that you're not thinking, but it's not as prevalent to be thinking about it, or it's not as front of mind. There's a lot of interest in the job still. Yesterday, as the news broke, and then even into today, there's been a lot of people reaching out. It's been a unique experience for me, because in the past, you go immediately from kind of one transition to the next. This is a little bit different. I feel like there needs to be some breathing room for me, and personally, to be able to wrap my mind around some things as we move forward. So I've gotten emails, I've not responded. I am not in coaching search mode right now, and part of that is I need to talk to Coach DeMoss, and I need to get where her head's at, and I need to get where my head's at in terms of the program. It's a very unique situation in that, where you've named an interim, but she's not even here. And so she and I need to sit down and talk. If she's interested in the job, she will be a candidate, just like anyone else is interested. But really, it's about the transition right now and transitioning into our next phase, which is focusing on hiring the next coach. But so I don't have anyone particularly in mind, but we will get there shortly. And that, would be, follow up to that is just, this is still a great program. It really is. We're the second winningest program in the history of women's basketball. That has not been removed from yesterday or today. That's a fact. And just because Coach Summit's no longer our coach doesn't mean that anything's been changed. My objective, I told the ladies in the locker room yesterday, I am as focused today, maybe even more so, on finding the best coach to lead them and give them the best experience possible than I have ever been. And so for me, it's the same. I want to attack this like I would attack any coaching search, like I did 2 years ago with this search, to find the best person to come in here and lead these ladies. I will not, nor have I, given up on the Lady Texters.
Talk about being in maintenance mode. You didn't say that. Those are my words. What kind of things have y'all offered to the Lady Texters for support during this time?
Yeah, so, obviously I have an open door policy. Sometimes as an athletic director, maybe even with females, that, you're the AD and I'm the student athlete. Even I don't want that to be the case. I want them to know they can come. But Coach Hungate, Mary Kay Hungate, as we remind them very often, she coached here just a few years ago. But she's been great in this whole process for me, and I think she's great for them to be able to talk to. I think the coaches that are on this staff now have a tremendous amount of respect for each other, the players and the coaches. And I know that, that Coach DeMoss, when she gets back, is working on putting a team function together for Sunday, just an event to get them together off campus. And that's part of this process, but also letting them know that there's a counseling center on campus. I mean, and that's not to say people need counseling, but, you might need to talk to somebody. Maybe you don't want to talk to me. You can go talk to somebody else. So we've given them opportunities of saying, hey, if you're more interested in talking to these people or that person, it's available to you 24/7. And, it's a good group of kids. I mean, this is a good group of student athletes, and they deserve the best. we expect the best of the Lady Texters. They deserve the best, and we intend to provide that for them.
Coach, how concerned is it about what this incident has done to the image of Louisiana Tech?
Well, obviously I can't control that. I can't. I think my objective is to, you have to, situation has happened. Coach Summit has resigned. We've accepted that, and now we have to move forward. And I know it's, well, that's what I expected you to say. But what else am I going to say? I mean, to be honest, I mean, even when in the past when I've had to let a coach go, okay, those are not easy decisions. It doesn't matter. Anytime a coach, it's like I tell this, I mean, when a person leaves a position in any capacity, however they leave, they're like a tree who's uprooted. When you uprooted, you leave a hole. It doesn't matter how you left, you leave a hole. And that hole can only be filled through time. And, we've got to get a leader in here and help with that process. So it's, that's just what I would say about that.
I know this has been a fluid and a difficult situation, Tom. Is there any, looking for the next coach, quality or characteristics that you're looking for in the next head coach, and has that maybe been reevaluated what you're looking for
Sure.
over the last few days?
Well, as I said earlier, I have not got into hire mode yet. So, whereas is most recently with men's basketball, say, hey, these are the characteristics we want to have. We had 6 points that we wanted. Style of play, we kind of went through it. I have not had a chance to sit down. I've needed an opportunity, me personally, to be able to sit back and collect my own thoughts and evaluate some things as we move forward. And quite frankly, focus on our current student athletes right now and giving them the support that they need. And so, in general, someone that has experience leading, and I think the situation that has happened, with an abrupt resignation, may require a different, mindset, of somebody. But I have not had a chance to really dive down on that. As I remove myself a little bit farther from yesterday, and that's part of why. If I sat down today and decided what I wanted in a leader, it might be different than what I would decide on Monday, because it is an emotional process, and I don't want to be driven by emotions or overreact to a circumstance or a situation. But that's a very good question. Has been very supportive. Excuse me. Ruston is a very unique place, and Louisiana Tech is a family. We talk about it all the time, and I've been inspired by the people in this community and the people that are connected to this community. Just to say, hey, man, we're thinking about. It's not fun for anybody, and I think most people realize that. It's not fun for anyone, and I mean anybody in this situation. And so for me as a person who I'm an outsider. I moved in here, I wasn't born in Ruston. Many of you probably weren't either. Boy, I sure felt welcome the last couple of days, and encouraged, just, hey, continue to move on. And so the response has been very supportive in general.